Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you to those of you who are able to make it to the live session, and I'm happy to announce Dr. Brown, who's with us today. Dr. Brown is a clinical professor at the Salwa R. Corey Department of Neurology. Dr. Brown has studied the function and neuroanatomy of the basal ganglia, and she's also participated in work of cerebral correlates of mobility. Currently, she's studying glove attachment, relationship factors, and personality using brain imaging techniques in humans. And now I'd like to pass it on to Dr. Brown.
Hi. So I must say, yes, indeed. Christopher, Lean, Brandon, I'd love to see your faces. Um, the and it's great that you're here on a Saturday afternoon. I know that's not so easy, but I understand that you're interested in exploring the medical fields. And Salah asked me to talk to you. I think he's especially interested in, say, neurology and neuroscience. And um, and maybe some of you are too. But first, I'll just say that, going into any medical field, there's such a wide range of things you can do these days. You can be a clinician, that means being a medical doctor, an MD, or you can be a nurse, or you can be a nurse practitioner, or you can be, a physician's assistant, or you can even be, an administrator in the health field. You can certainly be a researcher. And I was thinking back about myself and what grabbed me, when I was probably 19 years old, was how the brain works, and what's going on with the physiology of the mind. And this was a question and a whole field that just grabbed me. And it was necessary that it grabbed me because there's a lot of hard work. I then proceeded to, spend a whole career on this. And I worked nights and weekends to do special projects. Um, it was, it's like being an artist. When you have, how artists are just totally devoted to their art and they will spend tons of time on it. And there's something called flow when you get into a topic or when you get into making a painting or any work of art, you're going with it. You lose some of yourself. And that's what really getting into a medical field can mean. And it's a great career. What's very important is to find something that grabs you, that really interests you, that you want to spend a lot of time with in your life. So, um, for me, at first, in a way, a lot of us always first want to be a doctor, right? And to me, that meant helping people, taking care of people. I think people want to go into the medical field, have a kind of natural, caring heart. So there's something caring, and they like to take care of people. Again, that's so important because even though in the end, I didn't get into medical school, but that was okay. And as a matter of fact, probably um, in the end, maybe it was even better. Um, I had a lot of fun doing the research. There are all kinds of things you can do in research. Uh, when I started out, and as I said, I was grabbed by neuroscience and the study of the mind. But, after once I'd gotten my PhD, I realized there were all these other fields, like even endocrinology, uh, all these other fascinating fields that I could have gone into. And it's funny that at the time when I first made this decision, I really hadn't looked to see all of the stuff that was out there. So one of my recommendations is that you investigate um, all of the academic fields that are out there to study as a clinician and also as a researcher. One way to start is to just look at the curriculum that a medical school offers. And what if you were to go to medical school, what would be the first year courses that you would take? And the fact is that probably anatomy would be one of the very first. And that even anatomy has to be something that's interesting to you. So just basic biology is something that's fascinating to me. And that has really helped me to enjoy my career. Because that's what it's all about, by the way. Uh, I've done some studies of romantic love in humans. I did functional MRI and looked inside the brains of humans, of thinking, awake humans. It was such a thrill, a real thrill. And what I found was the importance of what we call the reward system. Let me show you a brain. So here's a brain, right? Sitting in the head like this. And and if we open it up, so this is half of the brain, so that we can see inside. And all of this is kind of the new brain. This is a kind of primate brain, and this is more human. And you see the complexity. See the folds in the tissue here? Of course, this is just a model, and the real thing is much more complex. There are many more folds. These are just some of the basic ones. But this is where we process information about the world up here. And, sensory information, our cognition. But down here is where we process the reflexes we need, like breathing and swallowing. And this reward system that we found was active for people looking at a picture of the person they loved. The system that's active for romantic love and attachment is way down here. It's at the level of reflexes. And one of our conclusions was that romantic love is actually a survival system. It's this area of the brain also that's active when people take cocaine. So it's the high. It's a high to be in love. It's a high to take cocaine. And this area mediates those feelings of euphoria. So you don't have to have a cocaine high to feel euphoria. Um, but this part of the brain that it communicates with all of this complex part, all of the cognitive parts. And it's not what we found, it's not just important for love and for attachment and for relationships. That reward system, which is mainly dopamine, is important just for all of us for life. And so you have to kind of fall in love with your career. You have to become attached to studying anatomy and physiology. You want to check out your feelings of happiness. They don't have to be euphoria, but they have to be feelings of happiness and kind of satisfying your curiosity when you're studying for anything in the medical field. I mean, even if you do something outside of the medical field, it's so important for a good, healthy life for yourself to be able to activate this reward system in many ways, not only in your relationships, your romantic relationships, but in your relationship with your work, your relationship with the questions you have on your mind, your relationship with the tasks, the boring tasks that are going to happen in every single job you have. There's going to be stuff that's boring. And so you have to be willing to push through that. So you have to see a kind of reward at the end, a very big reward. Um, the Hang on, let me just be sure that I made a little list of things I wanted to be sure to say. Ah, yes. And there's another thing that I would want you all to keep in mind for anything that you're doing, but especially for the medical and medical research fields. And that is that it requires being a team player. It's very important that you like other people. Not everybody does. Not everybody is particularly social. And maybe you could be a doctor who treats people in the wilderness, that would be good. But for most of you, my bet is that you'll be working as a medical team. As a matter of fact, last week I got COVID and I went to the hospital for a couple of days. So I saw firsthand how medical teams in a hospital work and how they have to work. And it's complicated. Uh, Again, it requires liking not only to help people like the patient, but it requires liking to interact with other people who are, kind of doing the same thing. And these days, there's so much expertise, there's so much to know that you need many people to contribute to the ideas of treating a patient these days. You need many viewpoints and you need many areas of expertise. And so these are big teams now that take care of people. And if you want to go into medical research, then again, for sure, it's important. There, there are so many aspects to laboratory work these days. There are so many areas of expertise that you have to get any task accomplished that you need to like to cooperate with other people and just like the idea of being on a team. That's a big important aspect of the medical world these days. Teamwork. You have to be able to ask for help. And so it's not just being a fast thinker. It's not just having a huge memory bank or vocabulary for names of drugs, for names of bones. It's also being open to being part of a team. And again, there are many roles in teams. There's always a director for a team. In medicine, in the hospitals, there's a chief resident. And so the chief resident has to be someone who leads with compassion and understanding others on his team, not just the patients. So it can be a really rich and fascinating life, no doubt about that. And it's very demanding. Oh, by the way, I meant to show you that. So, in fact, my team for my research about the love studies and identifying the brain systems of romantic love, I have a picture. This is I'm in my office right now, and this is a picture from of the three of us who who did the love studies. I'm in the middle. I'm considerably younger. It was about 20 years ago. This is a picture from the very first poster that we gave about the results of the love studies. And the woman here, her name is Helen Fisher, and she's an anthropologist, and then he's a social psychologist. So it was it was a great collaboration, but note how the areas of expertise were so diverse. Someone like me who knew the neuroanatomy, right? And and who knew about the neurotransmitters in the brain, all of that. Then someone who's a social psychologist who had spent, like 20 years studying people's responses to love. And then an anthropologist who had spent a lot of time about on theories of love, and theories about how love evolved through evolution and why. Why would we need romantic love? As an anthropologist, she was thinking about that and studying patterns of behavior in other cultures, and she helped to look into other cultures and realize that romantic love exists in all cultures. There's evidence for it in poems um, and rituals and everything else across all cultures that anthropologists have studied. Some people said, "Oh, romantic love, it's just a European, a Western European thing." Um, no, I mean she spent a lot of time just documenting and uh, and talking about the fact that romantic love is a human universal. So, that and and that background helped us to say, this is important stuff to study. This is something that people aren't studying, but it influences people's lives so tremendously. People people move across the country to be with someone they love. Some people travel long distances just to go on a date with somebody who they are now in love with, and they think a lot about them. So, people actually kill themselves over love if they're rejected, and and are willing to die for the other person. They feel so strongly for them. So this was a very strong human uh, set of behaviors that we thought was very important to to investigate. And so the anthropologist's background was important um, to help the people who had to support us and help us keep that in mind too. So if maybe I should leave a little time for some questions. Are there any questions?
I actually thought of a question myself. I wanted to ask you if there's like any area of research and neurology that you feel like that you're recently seeing glow up, and you're like, oh, I was wondering if I could possibly have any research in that area. Like, is there any area of research that you wish you researched basically in neurology? Is there like any topic or anything that you find exciting?
Oh, certainly the areas of dementia, and
Mm,
not just Alzheimer's disease, but all the dementias.
mm,
I find that fascinating again because I'm interested in the mind,
yeah.
and how we think. I'm interested in the physiology of mind and thinking, the physiology of emotions too. So there's another field that's just looking at the brain systems underlying all our different emotions, and especially, say, anxiety. So anxiety is a big problem
Mm.
these days, and of course, depression too. Uh, but, for me, looking into something like dementia or some of the psychological problems that people have, and sometimes it's not just a problem. All of us have anxiety, right? But so it's enriching, for everyone, even if it's not pathological, it's an enriching experience for the public, for everybody to learn more
Mm.
about anxiety, to just help them to deal with their anxiety that's not pathological. But we all need a little help with dealing with anxiety.
All right. Does anyone else have any questions? And again, Dr. Brown's email will be provided just in case anyone thinks of any questions after the meeting is completed.
Sure, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you again. It looks like there isn't any questions. Dr. Brown, do you have any last comments to say? Maybe anything, any opportunities you have, anything to mention? Possibly.
I just want to wish everybody, a happy time. That's all. It's so important to have a feeling of heartfulness and
Yeah,
openness and curiosity. Curiosity is so important, keeping that up. It's not easy all the time,
yeah.
but it's doable.
Mhm. All right. I would like to thank you so much, Dr. Brown, for joining us today. Thank you again. The email will be provided below. Again, if anyone has any last second questions. But yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Brown. Thank you to those of you who joined. And yeah.
Okay, great.